bass too much, I get carried away.
Hey everyone, it's Paula here, and I'm here with a story. A few people have asked about why I play upside down, and also I just want to share it with you all. So, let's get into it, shall we? As a kid, I used to play a variety of different instruments, but I think the longest instrument I held was a bassoon, which I enjoyed, but I was a teenager, I was immature, the music sounded like a fart, and it looked like a giant bomb. So it didn't last very long. I wanted to be in a rock band, and as much as I love the bassoon, it's not exactly rock. Maybe ska, maybe classical, but not rock. So it all started in my high school music class. We got to pick an instrument to use, and we would do theory and we would do prac. Everyone was scrambling for the drum kit, everyone wanted to go on that, and I was just like, no offense to drummers. But there was a bass, and that was being passed around because there was only one compared to the guitars and the keyboards. And I wasn't particularly that interested, but then someone passed it to me and I'm like, might as well give it a try. It was a white Fender jazz bass, right-handed. So I flipped it over, upside down, and put it on my knee. I didn't think about it at all. I didn't think that was strange. And I remember playing it, and I remember that first note that just came from it, and it was such a big, warm sound, and within that first note that I'd played, terrible note mind you, because, you know, as a learner, you know, my fingers were too far to the end of the fret, so I was making a noise on top of the sound, that sort of thing. I was just in love, and I knew then that bass was what I wanted to do. It was quite literally love at first note. I kept playing it in class because I loved it. There were a few other people in my class that played bass as well, and none of us owned a bass at the time. So we'd take in turns, you know, one song this person, one song that person, etc. And people were starting to comment on the fact that I played bass upside down. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought that was just, some people did it, you know. So I tried to flip it over right-handed, and I couldn't. My arm just wouldn't twist that way, and I thought that was strange. So I just kept playing upside down. And you know, you're in high school, you get a bit of crap for it, and there were a few people in my class that were like, oh, you can't even hold the bass the right way around, let alone play it. And that got to me. It was all joking, sort of, you know, friendly stuff, but you know, you say something a certain amount of times and it starts to get a bit hurtful, but they didn't realise that. So months passed and I decided I wanted my own bass. You know, I loved playing it at school, but when I got home I couldn't play one, I didn't have one, I couldn't borrow the school's one, and I was starting to look at the idea of maybe starting a band or joining a band. So I was looking around on eBay for a cheap bass. Then one day I run into a bass, and it's this really, really cheap pile of crap, rip-off of a P bass from, I think it was from Korea or something like that. Ridiculously cheap, and I had a job at the time, so I could afford it. And I said to my mum, I'm going to get this bass, can you use your eBay account to buy it for me? And Mum just went, alright. Go into the lounge room, we're going to have to give you your birthday present early. She went into her bedroom and she came back out into the lounge room with this big cardboard box. And I knew exactly what it was, and I was so excited. And I opened it up and I started bawling my eyes out, because right there was this beautiful red and white jazz bass rip-off. It's called Jixing by Nature. Right there. It's a real crap bass, but it was great for a starter bass. It was fantastic. I loved it to bits. I named it Godric. Not after Harry Potter. It was so wonderful. And I picked it up and I went to play it, and Mum just looks at me and she goes, why are you playing it upside down? I show her what happens when I try and play right-handed, and she was just like, oh crap. Because she knew I was left-handed, but in Australia, I don't know what it's like around the rest of the world, but in Australia it is particularly hard to find a left-handed bass. and when you do find one, it's really expensive. They bump up the price because it's left-handed, I guess. Now, it wasn't until years later when I went to a doctor for a different medical reason that I found out why my arm doesn't turn the way it does. I, was doing a few tests and that sort of thing with the doctor, and one of them was catching a ball. I had to catch a ball. And he'd pivot to me and I'd catch it in a way that was strange apparently. And he's just like, what's going on there? So he inspected my arm and we did a few tests with my arm as well, and one of them was doing this. Yeah, that's right. This arm doesn't turn fully like this, whereas this goes like that. I actually physically can't do it. I can turn it that far unless I really want to go, ow, that really hurts, ow, and I'm twisting my whole arm instead of just that part. And so they, did a few x-rays and that sort of thing, and it was later found that, and I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong because I've never actually heard it out loud before, I've only ever read it on paper, that I have left radio-ulnar synaptosis, if I pronounce that right. And basically what that is this part here, you got your radio and your ulnar bone, and what happened is usually they're supposed to be set apart, so you can move them, but mine for some reason are joined and they're in weird shapes. So things like pull-ups I can't do because I can only twist this arm that far. He goes, well, we can fix that. All we have to do is break your arm, let it re-heal, But I didn't want to. And I know that sounds strange, if there's something wrong with you, you fix it and you want to fix it, but in a sick sort of way, I was quite fond of this because without this, deformed arm of mine, I wouldn't have played the way I played now. And I was afraid that if something went wrong with the procedure, and I know that's like a 0.0000001% chance that something could go wrong, I didn't want to risk it because I loved bass so much at the time and I didn't want anything to go wrong. There are two ways that left radio-ulnar synaptosis is. The first is you're born with it. The second is you broke a bone and it didn't heal back properly, and to this day I still don't know. For as long as I can remember, I've had this arm that doesn't twist the right way. So maybe I was born with it. But then also as a child, I was quite an aggressive little kid, unfortunately, and I got in a lot of play fights and I had a lot of broken bones. So I don't know if it was that too and it was just so far back I don't remember. But really, because I play upside down, I got taught a little bit from music teachers and things, but I never really stuck in musical lessons for a long time. I ended up making my own path and teaching myself, but all these techniques that are made for bass, for example, slap bass, you hit with that sort of thing, I can't do it because I'm upside down and it's basically nigh impossible for me to do it. So in some respects, and I might sound a bit arrogant, but in some respects I am more self-taught than others because not only did I teach myself how to play, but I had to teach myself new techniques. And the time came, I was heading down my career. I was playing a variety of different basses and owning several different basses, and when I left high school I could have afforded to get myself a left-handed bass and to play it left-handed. I didn't want to. I went through so much trying to learn how to play it upside down, and the teasing, as I said, not meant in a nasty way, but I was a sensitive teenager, unfortunately, so I took it to heart a bit, and I felt very connected to playing upside down, and I felt like that was part of my musical identity, and I enjoyed it. And I wanted to show the world that you can do these things. So in some ways it was something I'm proud of, and in some ways it's just a big rude finger to everyone. But, you know, I like it now, and I like being known as the chick that plays bass upside down. I mean, I'm not the only one. There are tons of people out there that play bass upside down. But it's still, you know, a rarity, and I like that. Alright, so this is the bass I've got now. Basically, it's a Fender Jazz, Mexican, yeah I know, with American pickups. And what I've done is I've put a right P-bass neck on it because I like something a bit thicker, but I like the tonal qualities of a jazz and I like the body and everything. I also like the fact that I've got more control on the pickups over the tone sculpt, the tone sculpting in my bass. Now what I've done so that this is reverse headstock is I've knocked out this nut gently and I've flipped it around so it's a right-handed neck, but it's made for left-handers. So this is basically, you know, don't expect anything fancy, but you know, this is me playing the right way for me. So, you know, really easy. Promise not to laugh too much, okay? Now this strap is going to be far too short, so I'm just going to take this off and use my knee. This is me trying to play right-handed. Okay. Which coincidentally is the right way around on the strings too. This is me trying to play the wrong version of Smoke on the Water on the E string. Helps if this isn't in the way too. Alright. Sorry. Let's try this again. It's a bit pitiful, isn't it? You get the idea anyway. I'm going to turn this off now.